If there are no classified material, share it with the committee. You can't have it both ways. These are important jobs. This is our national security.
The fallout over this whole journalist in the group chat situation has already started, and it is nuclear, as John Radcliffe, Kash Patel, and Tulsi Gabbard are all currently testifying in Congress over their involvement with the Signal app. And Tulsi Gabbard specifically is making a complete fool of herself, visibly struggling to come up with answers to the questions.
Director Gabbard, were you overseas during any parts of these discussions?
Yes, Senator, I was.
Were you using your private phone or a public phone for the Signal discussions?
I won't speak to this because it's under review by the National Security Council. Once that review is complete, I'm sure we'll share the results with the committee.
What is under review? It's a very simple question. Are you your private phone or an officially issued phone? What could be under review?
National Security Council is reviewing all aspects of how this came to be, how the journalist was inadvertently added to the group chat, and what occurred within that chat across the board.
But so you were not going to disclose anything about whether you use the phone?
Senator Reid was visibly flabbergasted there at Tulsi's inability to answer a very basic question. And what makes it even more embarrassing for Tulsi, and obvious that she's just trying to cover her ass here, is that John Radcliffe goes on to say that yes, he was in fact the John Radcliffe in that group chat. Senator Mark Warner did an excellent job completely nailing them to the wall, so I'm just going to play the whole clip here.
This was not only sloppy, it not only violated all procedures, but if this information had gotten out, American lives could have been lost. The Houthis had this information, could reposition their defensive systems. So I want to get a little more information about this. Director Gabbard, did you participate in the group chat with Secretary of Defense and other Trump senior officials discussing the Yemen war plans?
Senator, I don't want to get into the specifics.
Ma'am, were you on? You're not going to be willing to address. So you're not, are you denying, Matt, will you answer my question, ma'am? You were not TG on this group chat?
I'm not going to get into the specifics.
So you refuse to acknowledge whether you were on this group chat?
Senator, I'm not going to get into the specifics.
Why are you going to get into the specifics? Is it because it's all classified?
Because this is currently under review by the National Security Council.
Because it's all classified? If it's not classified, share the text now.
As the White House previously
stated, is it classified or non-classified information on this text?
I can confirm.
Director Radcliffe, were you on the group chat?
Senator, I was on a Signal messaging group.
So you were the John Radcliffe on that chat?
I was.
Thank you, thank you. If it's not classified, share the text with the committee. Let me go on. Director Gabbard, you are the security executive and set access guidelines for classified information. Did you contact the defense secretary or others after this specific military planning was put out and say, hey, we should be doing this in a SCIF?
There was no classified material that was shared in that.
So then if there was no classified material, share it with the committee. You can't have it both ways. These are important jobs. This is our national security. Bobbing and weaving and trying to, filibuster your answer. So please answer the question. If this was Director Gabbard, if this was a rank and file intelligence officer who did this kind of careless behavior, what would you do with them?
Senator, I'll reiterate that there was no classified material that was shared in that.
And if there's no classified materials, share. And then if there's no classified materials, then you can't even answer the question whether you're on the chat. This is strangely familiar, and I think my colleagues will remember, when you couldn't answer the question, is Edward Snowden a traitor? Man, I have serious doubts about anyway. Director Gabbard, I'm going to give you this. Tweeted just 11 days ago, and I'm quoting you. Any unauthorized release of classified information is a violation of the law and will be treated as such. So if this information is classified, what are you going to do?
Senator, 2 points here. First of all, there's a difference between inadvertent release versus
Careless and sloppy.
malicious leaks of classified information. The second point is there was no classified information that was on
Then the
the
information
Signal
committee
group
should get that
chat.
information.
Warner's absolutely pinning them to the wall, and what's surprising to me is that they don't seem to have coordinated a story or a plan or any of that. It seems like they're sort of making things up as they go. There are some basic facts that they aren't even on the same page about. For example, whether or not this is real. Some folks on the right are still trying to deny this as a hoax, and Tulsi Gabbard seems to have been trying to leave room for the idea that she wasn't the TG in the group chat. But then John Radcliffe quickly confirms that he was in fact in the group chat. I mean, that definitely makes Tulsi look as stupid as she is. And then he comes in with a justification for using Signal. I've been seeing this a lot too, somehow trying to blame Biden for this because they were using Signal during the Biden administration. But Signal is supposed to be used for like lunch plans, not war room info. And there are multiple reasons why, not just encryption, which we'll get to in a second, but also how easy it is to make mistakes like, I don't know, accidentally adding journalists into the group chat. That's why a SCIF and SCIF, which I'll have a general explain to you in a second, is usually used for this kind of sensitive information. Which begs the question, is it sensitive information? It doesn't seem like they're willing or prepared to answer whether or not the information in the group chat was classified. Based on Jeffrey Goldberg's description of the information, it definitely seems classified to me, but here's a clip of Tulsi refusing to answer that question.
Secretary Hegseth put into this group text a detailed operation plan, including targets, the weapons we were going to be using, attack sequences, and timing. And yet you've testified that nothing in that chain was classified. Wouldn't that be classified? What if that had been made public that morning before the attack took place?
Senator, I can attest to the fact that there were no classified or intelligence equities that were included in that chat group at any time.
So,
and I
so the
defer,
attack sequencing and timing and weapons and targets you don't consider to should have been classified?
I defer
or were
to the
classified?
Secretary of Defense and the National Security Council on that question.
Well, you're the head of you're the head of the intelligence community, and you're supposed to know about classifications. So your testimony very clearly today is that nothing was in that set of texts that were classified. I'll follow up on Senator Wyden's question. If that's the case, please release that whole text stream so that the public can have a view of what actually transpired on this discussion. It's hard for me to believe that targets and timing and weapons would not have been classified.
It's very difficult to believe that targets, timing, and the equipment that's going to be used is not classified information. Here's General Barry McCaffrey explaining just how bad this was.
Probably the most sensitive information we have in the armed forces are pending military operations. And in this case, we're talking about the lives of Navy and Air Force flyers. But by the way, we also ought to assume that Signal has been penetrated by many intelligence organizations, to include the Russians and the Iranians. So you're basically putting the lives of U.S. service people at risk. You're also displaying to the Houthis what targets are after, and so they can take measures to disperse or avoid the attack. It's a sense of arrogance. And by the way, I also think it's an attempt to avoid accountability under the Official Records Act. These people have been routinely using Signal, I'll bet you, for many other types of sensitive discussions, knowing they wouldn't be filed and available for researchers or investigators in the coming years. It's really a disgraceful situation. If that had been a bunch of majors and lieutenant commanders coordinating an attack, they'd all get fired and probably subject to criminal prosecution.
Now, Signal is end-to-end encrypted, which means it's not as easy to infiltrate as like a cell phone text over SMS. But end-to-end means cell phone to cell phone. A cell phone can be stolen, it can be hacked into. I mean, hell, somebody can be looking over your shoulder if you're in public. And Tulsi was overseas. Was she on Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi can be hacked. But none of that really even matters if you're adding randos to the group chat. Honestly, we got kind of lucky that it was the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic who was added, or not say a foreign ambassador or diplomat. I get the feeling that they're going to try to sweep this under the rug and pretend like it's no big deal. But believe me, this mistake isn't going anywhere. I'm Tony Hinderman with Really American, and I'll catch you next time.